Ah, yes, Christmas. It's always a wonderful time of the year because many people are in the holiday spirit, as they say. And in fact, Christmas is my favorite holiday, and many people like me enjoy Christmas for the warm holiday memories made with family and friends. Some of these delightful holiday memories are about sharing hot cocoa with others, or sharing gifts with others, or even sharing the moment of chopping down a Christmas tree with others on a tree farm. Today, to help us get into the holiday spirit, we are actually going to visit a tree farm today. But instead of seeing the process of cutting down a Christmas tree and bringing it home to decorate like most people are used to, we are actually going to see a tree farm in another way. Instead, we are going to see what happens at a tree farm when Christmas season is not in session. So strap on your boots and let's go agventuring. Howdy everyone, my name is Isaac the Ag Guy and welcome back to Agventures. In this episode of Agventures, we are going to be touring Bean Station Tree Farm here in Prattsburgh, New York to see what a tree farm is like many months before the Christmas season arrives. But before we get into all of that, let's get another brief overview on what Bean Station is all about. Before Bean Station Tree Farm was, well, Bean Station Tree Farm, the farm was actually called George's Tree Farm under different ownership. Then, in 2014, the Wagner family purchased the farm and became the new owners, making huge updates to the farm itself. Since then, George's Tree Farm was renamed to Bean Station Tree Farm, and the farm changed all their branding and marketing. Under the Wagner ownership, Bean Station has more than 30,000 trees planted to keep up with the rising demand during the Christmas seasons. Besides selling Christmas trees to holiday goers, the farm also sells wreaths and Christmas trinkets in their gift shop, and they also sell warm snacks and drinks at their concession stand during the winter weekends. So I'm visiting Bean Station during the summertime, which means that the farm is currently closed for purchasing Christmas trees. But that doesn't mean that the farm totally goes dark during the summer months. While it may appear to be the perfect place to entertain large groups, as you'll see, cleaning up the barn for an event is quite a chore. At this point, they have only hosted a couple events for friends and families, but still, it has been the site to host prom, weddings, and fundraisers for local groups and individuals. However, today we are not going to be talking about all the events that Bean Station is hosting. Instead, we are going to be talking more about what Bean Station does when maintaining and growing and taking care of all their Christmas trees. And where better to start than talking about planting some Christmas trees. So let's take a closer look at that. So unfortunately, I'm visiting Bean Station after their planting season, but that doesn't mean we can't talk about it. So I'm standing here today with Niki Wagner. She is the co-owner here at Bean Station, and she's gonna tell us a little bit about planting. So Niki, what are the steps that need to be taken to both prepare a field and when you're planting, like what goes on there?
Sure. So for us, because we acquired a farm with a lot of standing trees that just hadn't been really taken care of, they needed to be taken out. So we have a skid steer with a forestry head, which everybody likes to run it. It's the most fun. I think we have a video of that. It decimates the trees. We go through with the bulldozer and a lot of other fun equipment and put it all in a pile. Sometimes it has to be burned just to get rid of any pests. After that, the field is leveled and we go through with the discer, which kicks up a lot of roots from previous trees. We pick those roots out, disc it again, and then it's ready for planting, which brings us to the planter. Yes, this great piece of technology.
Yes.
This was actually found on the farm in the weeds somewhere, and our farm manager, Kirk, who is a master mechanic, got it running again. So this just hooks up to our large tractor. It gets pulled. We're going in this direction. You're seated backwards. I told you the boxes of trees, we take them out and set them in these sections here. So this is on a track. I can show you how that works. You end up sitting here as you're placing the trees in this shoe here. You're moving them toward you, so you don't have to stop to get more. Each person takes turns putting them in the shoe. These are the shoes, and you just put your tree in there, and it swings it down, and it plants it. Then you have discs here that push the dirt back in to cover up the tree, the roots. And then we have people walking behind us that are our stompers. So they go through, make sure the tree is standing straight, and they just kind of stomp around the tree to make sure everything's nice and compact around it. Not too compact, kind of loose. So that's how we do it.
So when you're planting these Christmas trees, what are the types of trees that you plant? Because, we call them Christmas trees, but what's the actual name of them?
So that's a good question. We only plant Fraser fir. Some say they're the Cadillac of Christmas trees, and for some reason they grow really, really well here. The only time we kind of got off track a little bit is we heard of a fralsum, which is a cross between a balsam fir and a Fraser. So if Fraser have any downfall is they don't smell really strong like a balsam, but balsam's branches are not as strong as far as to hold up your ornaments. So when you put them together, you get the longevity of a Fraser. The needle retention is amazing on a Fraser, which is another reason why we chose it, but it adds the scent to it as well. So you have a stronger scent. So we'll see how that goes. We have yet to sell any of those. They're not quite, they're only about this big, but when we do, we'll see what happens. Mostly they're Fraser though.
So also when planting Christmas trees, are there like any certain requirements that you have to follow when planting a tree in a field?
Absolutely. So when the trees come to us, they're in boxes. They need to be planted in 10 days. So the soil needs to be not too wet. If it's too wet, it clumps, it's like concrete, it packs around the roots and they're not able to grow properly. So sometimes we have had to wait until day 9 to plant because it has rained, the soil is way too wet. If you squeeze the soil and it forms a ball, it's too wet. You have to wait until it's dry enough so it won't compact around the roots. Also, in order to get the mower through, they need to be in rows that are about 6 feet apart, and to give them enough room to grow, they need to be roughly six feet away from each other as well. So with this planter, the way this plants, you have 2 shoes that come around, that creates the distance between the trees. But definitely 6 feet apart, and if they're not, it's hard to mow between them and you have casualties. So, but pretty much that's it. That's it.
So after all the trees are planted into a respective field, they're left alone to take root for a full year. After that, it is very important for Bean Station to protect and maintain all the little baby trees in the field when they are growing, which is actually what we're going to look into next. So the first thing that we should talk about when maintaining Christmas trees is about how the trees get their food and water to survive. And I'm here with Niki again, and she's going to explain to us about how the Christmas trees here at Bean Station get their food and water. So Niki, do you apply certain fertilizers or nutrients to each tree?
Ideally, about 3 weeks before bud break, we try to apply a time release triple 15 fertilizer. It's granular, so we just go up and down each of the rows and it spreads it around the base of the tree. This year we didn't have time. I'm not sure what that means, to tell you the truth, if we'll do that later. Being a hobby farm, it doesn't always happen. It doesn't always happen when it should, but we try really hard. That's usually what happens. Like I said, 3 weeks before, earlier in the season, maybe April, it gets spread. Other than that, before the trees are planted, we try to plant sedan grass in that block. After it grows, about 4 feet high, we mow it down. It adds nutrients to the soil, so the trees already have that benefit of the sedan grass. It adds organic matter, it breaks up the soil for us. It deters certain nematodes, worms from being in the soil. So that is something we started doing a couple years ago and seems to work great for our baby trees.
Do you have an irrigation system that applies water to the trees here?
I wish. I really wish we did. We've considered doing that now with the climate being in such a state of flux. We had one year where we planted 5,000 trees and lost half of them because it was so dry. I know previously the owners had some kind of system where they took water from a nearby creek, but we haven't done that yet. We've looked into several different things. There's a retractable hose system that you have to manually bring to each row if you need it. But no, we haven't yet. We just do our rain dance and hope for rain and see what happens.
Just like every crop, you have to worry about weeds, insects, fungi, or any other pests that could hurt Christmas tree growth. Therefore, it is very important to spray the trees with a certain chemical that won't hurt the trees, but will actually kill off all the other pests that do affect the trees' growth negatively. Doing this will in turn increase the yield of Christmas trees, which means that everyone will get a Christmas tree this winter season. Now let's see how Bean Station takes care of those nasty pests that hurt their precious trees. So before spraying the trees at Bean Station, we actually need to go and look and keep an eye out and scout out which trees have pests within them. Today, Nikki and I, we're gonna go around and scout some trees.
Ooh, what's happening here? Tips are all burned. What we can do is look for mites. So you just take a white piece of paper, white or dark, and you're gonna just shake out some of these, especially these top branches. So I'm not sure what happened here where they're dead, but just so I have all of the information when I go back, of course it's not easy in the wind. All of these specks on here, you can't really tell if anything is a mite, which is why we have, it's going away, our handy dandy little magnifier. So you're going to be looking to see which one might be a mite. Ooh, look at that, right there.
So is that a mite?
I'm not sure what it is. But also what's handy is taking out your phone. Ooh, he's crawling away. I'm taking a picture, but we have a video. So I'll be able to reference that and see exactly what that might be. So that'll go back to the office with me and I'll take a look. Believe it or not, a lot of, there's something. A lot of this that happens in the office. Very small, which is why, ooh.
I hope it doesn't blow away.
Right, which is why we have this. So we'll take that information back and take a look. I have some books to look at, some website resources, and we'll try and figure out what that is. It might call for us to come back and get more information, but we just mark take a mental note of where this is, and return, see if we can't figure it out. Interesting. There's a lot of different things we're looking for. Red needles on the inside we're looking for. Gout, so you'll see a swelling of branches. This here, I would be concerned about this. We have some curling. Look at these, leaves are all turned up. This tree is kind of a mess anyway. We've got lots of leaders. It doesn't know which one. A little information about that. A tree's leader is what helps it grow. All the hormone is in the top of that leader, and that's what teaches it to grow straight. If there's too many, you have to cut some of them out. But really what I'm concerned with here is this curling. So I'm gonna make some notes about that and take a look. Oh, here's some more. You know what, I might take that back with me and see if there's any little mites in that.
That's a nasty one.
That is a gypsy moth.
That is a gypsy moth. Those are nasty.
And we have lots of pictures of gypsy moths and what they've done to our trees. Gypsy moths traditionally don't go after evergreen trees. They like a more deciduous tree, but they really like our pine cones. So they will eat all of that delicate fluff. We're taking this guy off. They'll eat all that delicate fluff and, sorry, once they're finished, they go after our new growth. So all of this bright green on the tips are all new growth. And what they do is they go underneath and they just start eating. Look at all that new growth. Nice and feathery, soft.
Very soft.
Soft. That's the balsam in it coming out.
Oh, there's some red branches.
Serious damage here.
Take a look at this. There's some red branches all over.
There is.
So what do you do with those? You clip them?
So one of the things I recently learned, I'm looking at this, there's a huge wound right here. You can see over here, see that? And that almost, I'm not sure if that was created mechanically or from bugs, mites, something. So we'll get rid of these. And even if the tree isn't salvageable, for a Christmas tree, we'll mark it to be cut as greens. So it won't get trimmed. When our trees get trimmed, we'll just keep it for greens. If it's not diseased, if indeed that is a mechanical injury. Due to this, I'm thinking it's not. I mean, you have a completely bare branch there. I'm not really sure what's happening here.
There's a couple more over here.
Yeah, over here. And that was something I did learn recently on a YouTube video from another gentleman with a farm, is if your tree has a hole like this, they actually make something called a tree trainer. And it's a plastic piece that you can hook to a branch like this and then hook down here, and it'll actually fill in that spot. So you leave it hooked to the tree, which trains this to grow down, and it might fill in this space. So all is not lost. I thought I would have to trim them all like Dr. Seuss trees, like poodles, but it looks like
Brown Christmas trees.
Right. It looks like we might try something else to try to salvage something like this. But first, we're going to come back in and try to figure out what that is. And there's different times you scout. You scout in May, April and May for certain things, and you scout for different things in June and July, and then different pests have different life cycles. So you're looking for different things, eggs during one season, and the larvae during another, and then full-grown pests. Sometimes they have wings, sometimes they drop their wings, and it's still the same pest, so you really have to be looking for everything. And as I said, we're still learning all the time.
So how long do you typically spend a day scouting and looking at all these trees?
Well, you almost get to the point where you're always scouting. When I'm out trimming the trees and corrective pruning the trees, you're also looking, that's when you usually find find pests, because when you're looking for them, you don't find them for some reason. You're basically always looking for them, but you can spend several days a week in the beginning in May, all day just looking for pests once you find them. And it's not always looking for them, it's researching. It's then calling Penn State, calling Cornell, getting on their websites and trying to figure out exactly what it is, what you have to do to fix it, what you have to spray, what kind of species you can encourage that will naturally eat those pests. Yeah, it's a learning curve. You got to keep notes.
Yep.
Definitely do.
So once we find those nasty pests within a tree, we actually have to spray a pesticide on that tree to kill off those nasty things that affect the tree's growth. However, today we are not going to be spraying pesticides on the tree. Instead, we are going to be spraying herbicides around the tree to kill off any weeds that could affect the tree's growth. So let's go and do that. So I'm just doing this for demonstration purposes. We don't have any herbicides in here. This is all just water pretty much. It's just to keep me safe for today. But when actually spraying herbicides, you need to wear gloves and other protective gear, just because even though the chemical does kill weeds and doesn't affect the Christmas trees, it can still hurt your body, and actually it can leave burns on your body. So it's very important to be, it's very important to wear protective gear when working with chemicals.
And I'll say another thing that I learned, I wear the same boots every time and wash them off and then mop the floor in the office because I bring my dog to work.
Right.
So I don't want to track anything in that she's going to get into and then get sick. I know the previous owners lost dogs because of pesticides, you know, getting into something like that. So
right.
Not just you.
So always got to think smart when working around chemicals. But this is how you spray. So just got to get these nasty little buggers.
We call that the purple weed of death.
Got to get the nasty purple weed of death.
I think it's spring vetch, but we take creative license here.
How much do you usually spray on?
Like about that much. Get it nice and soaked.
Yep.
Nice thing about the Roundup that we use at that concentration is that it stunts the growth more, but it also, once it hits the ground, it becomes inert. So you have to make sure that your water is clean, or else it'll null and void any effect it has, but you don't get in the runoff. So the creek that's over there isn't affected at all, which is great.
Which is very important. Don't want runoff.
Important.
So even though I'm spraying this water, this will actually get sprayed with herbicides. So there is a crew gonna come behind us today, and they're gonna kill all this off today. So don't worry, I'm not saving their lives.
And there's no wind, that's important. You don't want wind to blow it into the trees.
Some other things that Bean Station does throughout the summer when maintaining their trees is that they actually cut off some of the extra branches on the trees, or this is also known as pruning the trees. And also Bean Station will clean up the area around the trees just to make the place look a little nicer as well. Today we'll also be trimming some of the trees, and we'll be cleaning up the place a little bit as well and learning why Bean Station does this throughout the summer. So again, let's take a look at that. All right, so first we're gonna go trim some trees. So let's grab our clippers and let's get some clipping done.
So what we're doing this time of the year is we're looking for horns, which are competing leaders. So the top of the tree here, that has all the hormone, the brains, you can tell it's the leader because something on the end here has almost a flat bottom. Something that wants to be a leader has an equal number of needles all the way around it. So this guy here thinks he's going to be the leader, and he's just growing like crazy. But this one is the one that we want to be the leader. So what we would do first for this is we're going to clip it out. We don't do a lot of leader training as far as if there's two at the top that want to be a leader, because we want to wait and give them until August to fight it out and see. We want the stronger one to win, so it needs more time. But this time of the year, we can actually do some of the actual shaping and trimming. I say we, but we do hire an outfit that comes out of, I think it's Michigan. 3 guys that come with blades. You can look it up on YouTube. They go through and they swing them and they slice them. But before we had them, we did it ourselves with these. So we're gonna leave the leaders the way they are, and then the idea is to shape the tree. Every time you make a cut, it encourages more growth and to fill in. So really the only thing we're doing is you just go around the tree and tip those at the very, very ends. And that just encourages growth. You're just gonna follow a line down the tree, and anything that falls in your line, you tip. And that's how we get it to fill in. Now we don't do that. So what I tend to do this time of the year, I'm just showing you because this is what we used to do, is corrective pruning. So when the guys come through and they use their machetes, sometimes they get a little close. Sometimes you get a wonky bit that grows up through the tree. So that's what we're looking for. We're looking for things that cross over into the tree, horns that are competing with the leader, and that's what we use our handy dandy Felcos for.
So what's the importance of pruning?
Every time you make a cut, it encourages your tree to grow. You're telling it how to grow. It's really easy to, well, you can see something like this right here. So you have, I call this the foot on a branch. So you have this branch here, and you've got these that have grown up, and you've got nothing under here. I want to encourage this piece to grow out. So I'm going to cut this center part out. Now you don't see that end piece, and this will hopefully get bigger. I won't cut this one out because there's no foot on the bottom of that branch. And this one, the foot has been cut too. Like this is sticking straight up. Do you remember having a Christmas tree that has something like that sticking straight up?
Not to my knowledge.
No, so cut that right off of there, Isaac. Right down near the base, just cut that little piece out.
Good piece, right there.
There you go.
Sweet.
There you go. I'm gonna tell this guy to stop growing. I'm gonna tell this one to stop growing, and we're gonna let that fill in, right? So we tip all of those.
Perfect.
I cut that's the brains of the branch. That's where all the hormone is. It tells it, whoop, stop now. These will grow out, but it won't grow anymore that way. So we'll see what happens.
Interesting.
Here's another thing. You see this branch coming up, and it's growing into the back of the tree there. Like, see that branch right there? Take that out right there.
Right there.
Yep. And that'll fill in because this one has a while yet. Look at this. Oi. I'm not really sure what happened there.
There's one coming way out there.
Right, that's super wonky.
Yeah.
And what's this one? This one's growing inside, but it's trying to fill a hole. I don't like that. I would take that right out there. Yep, because that's just super wonky. This tree is going to need a lot of love. It's going to need a lot more than that. Yeah, it needs a lot of direction. I would even take that one up because it's growing straight up. So
I can do that.
Yeah, right.
Right up top there.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty. Watch your fingers.
Yep, and I think that'll all fill in, but that keeps those big sticks from just. That's going to need a lot more work. And I could spend all day doing this. I love the corrective pruning part. It's a lot of fun.
I'm a Christmas tree pro.
You are.
Now we're gonna clean up around these trees a little bit because these trees can be so dang messy sometimes. So let's just get right into that as well.
Lots of trees will have pine cones, anywhere from 20 to 400. So we pick those out, and they're not like regular pine cones you can use in crafts. They just kind of dissolve and crumble. So they're not very usable unless you want to plant more trees. But you don't want them on your Christmas tree, that's for sure. They're not good. They'll make a mess.
They don't look like they're good ornaments.
No,
anyways,
no.
So. Look at this. This is. Start picking these pine cones off. Ooh, that's a tough one.
And sometimes you have to even clip them off.
Look at that.
Full of sap.
Full of sap. You just clip them from the bottom.
Yep.
So do you collect these pine cones?
No, they're not really useful unless I guess you wanted the seeds from them, which we don't because we buy trees.
Right.
Usually P2s, so no real need to keep them. We just leave them on the ground and they fertilize or mulch or add more organic material to the soil.
All right, so to make the field look a little nicer, clean up a little bit, we unfortunately have to cut down this tree. Obviously, it's not the best looking Christmas tree, so I wouldn't put any ornaments on it or gifts under this. So let's just take this one out.
Take it out. You want to?
I would love to do the honors,
Yay.
but you want me to get as close to the bottom as you can, or about right there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Cut this thing down. Should have said timber.
Perfect. Timber.
Timber.
And now this gets on the burn pile.
So if you had to rate my tree cutting experience, out of
You did a
1
great
being
job.
terrible, 10 being the great, like the best cutter you ever seen.
Yep. I'd say you have a 9 because
Sweet.
everybody can improve always. But that's awesome.
I got a 9. All right, put this
There you
cover
go.
safety.
Safety. I'm going to leave this here and we're going to pick it up later because
Sweet.
we don't have the ranger with us, but we
There
will.
you go.
Perfect.
Wow, what a busy yet exciting day we had here at Bean Station Tree Farm. We learned and did a lot from planting trees to scouting and spraying trees and even trimming trees as well. There is definitely a lot that goes on here at a tree farm when getting ready for the upcoming Christmas season. Anyways, huge thank you to Bean Station Tree Farm for allowing us to record, edit, and post this Agventures to YouTube. And also a huge thank you to Niki Wagner for providing incredible insight today and for being willing to be interviewed by us as well. Also, thank you to all of you out there for watching this video. If you like this video, please feel free to give it a big thumbs up. If you enjoy the content on this channel, please feel free to subscribe to Agaholics and ring the bell for more notifications on when new videos will be posted on the channel. Thanks again for watching and stay safe out there, y'all. Little baby tree. Nice to meet you. My fingers are sticky. Boop. Thank you to all of you out there for watching this. Your hair is in the frame.